Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to Triple Double Nation. Today we'll be covering NBA players that will be traded this year. Let's get into the video. Anybody concerned the NBA is crawling toward a dull trade deadline can rest easy knowing one thing: there will be deals. There are always deals. League insiders have cautioned this year's transaction tumult could be more like a soft of non-existent breeze, per ESPN's Tim Bontemps. Their skepticism is not without merit. The star market is bone thin after James Harden, blockbuster, and spotting surefire sellers becomes infinitely harder, and 28 of the association's teams are within 3 games of a play-in slot or better. But all of them seem unlikely to get dealt for various reasons. If nothing else, they are the most likely to get shipped out next. Too many other situations are complicated. Bills opposition or relocation has been the strongest, most public of the bunch. Adequately capitalizing on the value of Ball and Collins will be difficult, with both speeding toward restricted free agency. Collins' market is exacerbated further by a cheapo $4.1 million rookie scale salary that isn't netting anyone special on its own. Kyle Lowry is apparently selling a home in Toronto, but the Raptors are too good to qualify as a no-brainer sellers unless he specifically asks for out. Gordon is injured and the Orlando Magic are addicted to standing pat. Levine hasn't aged himself out of the Chicago Bulls rebuild. This is all about roundabout, albeit necessary, way of saying it takes deeper thought to identify the players who are actually the most likely to be on the move next. Contract situations, team directions, role changes, and expected market demand will help determine our selections. Nobody will be chosen because they make good salary fodder. Not all of these players are traditional household names, but they're each useful enough to attract the attention of buyers. Wayne Ellington, Detroit Pistons. Wayne Ellington's flame-throwing has so far fallen under the radar. He graded out as one of the league's most valuable shooters earlier this season, and nothing's changed since. His 50% clip on above the break threes ranks first among 166 players with at least 50 such attempts, and he's finding nylon on a patently absurd 46.8% of his pull-up trays. Contenders with a floor spacing deficit should be foaming at the mouth right now. Ellington is on an expiring contract for the league minimum, and at 33 shouldn't cost the moon to pry from the Detroit Pistons. Whether they should want to move him is debatable. They're among the NBA's only clear-cut sellers, but they're hard up for dependable shooting themselves. Keeping Ellington doesn't infringe upon the development of other players. If anything, he boosts the Pistons' functionality without improving their immediate outlook by too much. And while they'll only have non-bird rights to him this summer, there's value in retaining him to preserve the relationship ahead of free agency. Still, Detroit has fully shifted into big picture mode. A lights-out shooter in his mid-30s isn't going to be untouchable. Ellington won't land the Pistons a king's ransom, but they remain a net negative in the second round pick department, and he is surely right now worth a couple of those. Best trade fits for Ellington: Golden State, Memphis, Philadelphia. George Hill, Oklahoma City Thunder. Including George Hill is slightly risky if a flurry of moves are coming well ahead of the trade deadline. He's expected to be out at least another 3 weeks after undergoing surgery on his right thumb, and suitors are much less likely to acquire a player when he's not available to use. Granted, this hardly amounts to stepping out on a limb. Nobody expects Hill to finish the year with the Oklahoma City Thunder, per ESPN's Tim Bontemps, and the trade season always takes a bit to ramp up anyway. We spend weeks and weeks laboring over scenarios only for a lion's share of the action to go down just before the deadline, which remains a month and a half away. Hill can absolutely be one of the next 5 players on the move. Interest in his services is bound to be rampant. Everything he does is scalable to different situations. He provides a defensive punch versus both backcourt spots, and his offense is founded around large doses of spot-up threes and opportunistic drives. Hill has, for the most part, stuck to these strengths at Oklahoma City. The 61.5% clip he's posting on drives ranks 4th among 89 players, averaging at least 7 downhill attacks per game. And his 38.6% success rate on threes actually suggests he has room to improve. He's canning 47.5% of his catch-and-shoot trays, attempts that should account for a fatter share of his offensive profile on a better team. It'll be interesting to see what the Thunder get in exchange for Hill. His $1.3 million guarantee for next season increases his value to any teams looking to cut costs, and Oklahoma City has both the timeline and maneuverability under the tax to absorb some longer-term money if it heightens the return. Without other moving parts involved, a package built around seconds and a lower-tier prospect, if not a super-late first-rounder, feels like the inevitable middle ground. Best trade fits for Hill: Dallas, Golden State, Phoenix. Victor Oladipo, Houston Rockets. League executives told ESPN's Tim Bontemps the Houston Rocks could reroute Victor Oladipo elsewhere prior to the March 25 deadline. This is not surprising. Opting for Oladipo over Caris LeVert always felt off for the Rockets. Maybe LeVert's health issues changed the calculus a bit. He's out after a small mass was found in his left kidney, but he has 2 more years at a team-friendly price left on his deal. Oladipo, on the other hand, is approaching a big-time payday in free agency. To answer your question, yep, the payday is still coming. Oladipo is currently out with a right quad injury, the same quad he injured in 2019, and has seen his offensive efficiency plunge since coming over from the Indiana Pacers. But the 2021 free agent market is barren of star power, and this past offseason's extension is frenzy. Oladipo is easily going to be a top 5 available name. Some might argue the Rockets will be content to let him walk and use the resulting cap space. That doesn't quite track. They could have flipped LeVert for cheaper expirings attached to longer-term assets if they were really that concerned about saving money. Dealing Oladipo now feels like the only play. Paying him doesn't make sense when they're so far away from title contention and when they cannot guarantee he'll be imminently movable on his next deal. What he ends up netting is anyone's guess. Views of his ceiling are all over the place. His most recent quad flare-up isn't going to help. He still profiles as a form scratch jump shooter who can put some pressure on the rim and wreak havoc when guarding in the half court, but the vast majority of his career has been spent well below that peak. Failing cricket noises are on the league, though finding a new home for Oladipo remains Houston's smartest call. Best trade fits for Oladipo: Dallas, Memphis, Miami. Austin Rivers, New York Knicks. The New York Knicks have to move a guard after acquiring Derrick Rose. It isn't going to be Alec Burks, and it sure as hell isn't going to be Emmanuel Quickly. Shipping out Peyton makes the most sense. His minutes often feel aimless, and New York's experimentation with Rose, Quickly, Burke combos, while sensible, means more reps for Peyton RJ Barrett backcourt. That's no bueno. But Rivers is both on the outskirts of the Knicks rotation and the player who figures to command the most value. He is expected to be a hot target among contenders. It isn't hard to see why. Though the idea of Rivers often exceeds reality, he's still someone capable of knocking down the off-the-bounce jumpers and stealing defensive minutes against certain wings. The team control on his contract is also ultra palatable. He's owed a total of $6.5 million over the next 2 seasons, both of which are non-guaranteed. If he hits at his next destination, his new team can float his return for super cheap. If he misses, the experiment can be short-lived. Best trade fits for Austin Rivers: Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Toronto. PJ Tucker, Houston Rockets. PJ Tucker is going through the motions. Not only did he recently suffer a left thigh injury, but he's noticeably less effective at both ends of the year. He's also shooting just 21.4% from long distance over his last 15 games. A change of scenery won't make him any younger, but it might do him some good. It certainly feels inevitable. Tucker will hit free agency over the summer and was reportedly unhappy he didn't get an extension before the season. Best trade fits for Tucker: Boston, Golden State, Miami. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, leave a like on the video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.